Apple has been in the portable laptop game for longer than I've been alive, with the PowerBook 100 that was released back in 1991, and over the years, they've evolved into what we know as the MacBook lineup. Every MacBook since 2008 has come with a beautiful unibody aluminum chassis, which at the time was revolutionary, but it came at a price. For the past decade or maybe even longer, Apple's MacBooks have been known for being very expensive compared to the competition over on the Windows side, which used to all come with plastic bodies. And even though Apple's MacBooks clearly had a leg up in terms of resale value, many people still chose to go with cheap Windows laptops and Chromebooks because they were simply much more affordable compared to Apple's MacBooks that would start at least $1,000 or more. We even made a video explaining why Apple MacBooks are so expensive, with the different reasons ranging from having the best trackpads out there, the best speakers out there, better microphones than other laptops, excellent displays, and much more. But fast forward to today, and it's pretty clear to me that Apple has completely juked or essentially tricked the entire laptop market, and now they're beginning to revolutionize it in a totally unexpected way as they begin to eat up the laptop market share. So let me explain how Apple pulled it off. In 2012, Dell decided to break away from the plastic chain and offer a laptop that would feature premium build quality in an attempt to compete with Apple's MacBooks on the more expensive side of the laptop market, and that was of course with the XPS 13. This design used premium carbon fiber materials to get the weight below 3 pounds while being impressively thin and starting at a lower $999 price tag than Apple's 2011 MacBook Air, which started at a pretty high $1,599. But over the years, Dell and other Windows brands kept improving their premium Windows laptops, making them thinner, lighter, and more powerful, even adding a Thunderbolt 3 port on the 2016 Dell XPS. But then Apple did something that shocked the world. They completely scrapped all of their ports on the 2016 MacBook Pro and went with a simple set of 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, which sparked the rise of USB-C, which eventually went mainstream. And if you haven't seen my video on Apple's USB-C master plan, definitely check it out because it's very eye-opening. But going back to the Dell XPS, in 2018, they completely ditched the USB-A ports and went with Thunderbolt 3 ports, while at least still keeping an SD card slot. Now at this point, something very interesting began to happen. Premium Windows laptops started to catch up to Apple's MacBooks in terms of the pricing, especially with the 2019 Dell XPS, which got an even more premium chassis. And just last year, we compared the latest Dell XPS 13 to Apple's 10th gen Intel MacBook Pro, and the results were very interesting. A similarly spec'd XPS 13 model was only $100 cheaper than the $1,800 MacBook Pro, and the XPS had many shortcomings, like having a much worse trackpad, having inferior speakers, a worse webcam, much worse microphones, and only half the Thunderbolt 3 ports. So at that point, Apple's MacBook Pros didn't seem like that bad of a deal after all, since many premium laptops with matching specs were already getting close to the same price of the MacBook Pro, so the overpriced MacBook narrative started to die down a little bit. The only real issue that remained was that Apple's Intel MacBook Air was hugely flawed with overheating issues that caused the fans to spin up really loud, and the performance was pretty terrible, forcing us to recommend Apple's $1,800 MacBook Pro if you really wanted a great MacBook. But then in November of 2020, everything changed. Apple revealed the brand new M1 chip that went into the MacBook Air, the MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini. This chip basically blew everyone's minds, including ours, especially since it allowed the passively cooled MacBook Air to obliterate the previous Intel-based Air, almost matching up to the performance of the M1 MacBook Pro for $300 more. And not only did it have excellent performance, but it came with killer battery life compared to Windows laptops, and it was priced at only $999, with it being on sale right now on Amazon for only $899. So for the first time ever, we decided to compare the M1 MacBook Air to a fully loaded 16-inch MacBook Pro for $3899, and to our surprise, the M1 Air outperformed it in terms of multi-core performance. It almost matched up in terms of Logic Pro music production. It actually destroyed the 16-inch for Xcode programming. It almost matched up for Lightroom photo editing, and it actually matched up or even exceeded it for some video editing tasks like HEVC stabilization and 10-bit 422 rendering. This basically blew our minds, and at this point, it was clear that Windows laptops were in deep trouble. At this point, Apple's $1,300 M1 MacBook Pro was greatly outperforming Dell's even more expensive XPS 13 options, while also getting much better battery life. We also tested Razer's brand new RazerBook 13, which was actually more expensive at $1,600 compared to a similarly spec'd $1,500 M1 MacBook Pro, and the M1 smoked it across the board. And then we compared the M1 MacBook Air to Microsoft's brand new Surface Laptop 4s, both the Intel and AMD models, and the M1 basically destroyed them, being a much better value for the price. But the nail in the coffin was us comparing the $999 M1 MacBook Air to LG's brand new Gram 14 laptop for $1,199. And the M1 was better in basically everything from performance to build quality. And at that point, I realized that Apple had succeeded with the first phase of juking the Windows laptop market by getting them to follow in their footsteps by improving their materials, which led to laptop prices almost as high as Apple's MacBooks. And out of nowhere, Apple swooped in with the M1 chip, causing their lower-end MacBooks, especially the M1 MacBook Air, to outperform, outvalue, and outlast the batteries of the Windows laptop competitors all at the same time. This is a massive issue for the Windows brands out there because they don't currently have access to high-end ARM chips like Apple does. So if they want to stay competitive, they need to lower the prices of their laptops. And because Apple juked them into using higher and higher quality materials and parts, they're kind of stuck in a box because they're either going to have to accept lower profit margins if they lower their prices, or they're gonna have to lower the quality or the specs of their laptops compared to their current models, which is gonna cause outrage within the laptop community. And that's probably why we've recently been seeing many lifelong Windows users finally decide to switch over to the Mac, all because of the groundbreaking M1 chip. And with each day that passes, more and more software companies are continuing to optimize their apps for Apple Silicon, like Adobe, which just announced native M1 Apple Silicon support for Premiere Pro, Media Encoder, and Character Animator. And get this, the M1 MacBook Pro is now twice as fast as a Windows desktop PC with the best of the best RTX 3090 GPU in terms of scene edit detection in Premiere Pro. But all of that was just the first phase of Apple juking the laptop market, so now let's get into the second future phase. Apple's M1X MacBook Pros are getting released within the next couple of months, and they're literally going to shock and revolutionize laptops forever. Unlike with the M1 Max, Apple is now going to be focusing on maximizing performance with the M1X chip. And based on reports from Mark Gurman, the most reliable Apple leaker out there, the chip will come with 8 high-performance CPU cores, 2 efficiency cores, and either 16 or 32 graphics cores. And based on my calculations, it will outperform every laptop chip ever made in terms of CPU performance with a Geekbench multi-core score of over 14,000. On top of that, we're expecting the 32-core GPU model to score around 80 to 90,000 points in the Metal Graphics test, performing around as well as an RTX 3060 gaming laptop, but keep in mind that the GPU in the M1X is going to be fully integrated into the SoC package, providing extra benefits due to the unified architecture. But on top of all of that, the M1X MacBook Pro is going to once again juke the premium Windows laptop market by bringing everyone's favorite ports back. Based on reliable reports from Mark Gurman as well as leaked Apple schematics, Apple is bringing back the SD card slot, the HDMI port, and the MagSafe charging connector on the M1X MacBook Pros. And meanwhile, Dell's brand new XPS 13 is still stuck with 2 Thunderbolt ports and a micro SD card slot, so it's pretty obvious that they'll be following in Apple's footsteps again to bring back some of those ports. And once these M1X MacBook Pros are on the market, they're gonna shake up the entire industry and cause Windows laptop brands like Dell to scramble, trying to get their hands on ARM-based chips to throw into their laptops so they can compete in terms of performance and battery life. And that right there is gonna be the laptop revolution that Apple masterminded. Now, if you totally disagree with my thoughts, then go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, definitely click the circle above to subscribe and check out one of those 2 videos right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.